Nding, mtakanding. Imagine turning education into a passion that propels you into the highest seats of your profession. Today we sit with Vincent, a chartered accountant who needs no introduction. He's a change maker and someone who has soared to the highest levels of his profession. He is the current chair of SICA body and the CFO of UCT. So I can't wait to actually explore the stories beyond the letters and his lived journey. Vincent, welcome to the Charters table.
Thank you for having me, Yonelisa.
Pleasure to have you here. This conversation has been a long time coming.
It has, and I'm glad you've created time and platform.
Thank you. So before we dive in, actually maybe take us through who Vincent is, what you do, and maybe tell us one interesting thing about you.
So, if we have to think about what makes an individual, we often want to start in terms of our careers. But I think there's a foundation that forms the person that I am. I grew up in a household of many, many children. In total, I had 9 siblings, and we spent lots of time growing up with my grandparents. And there were cousins, as you can imagine, but in an African culture, you often don't refer to cousins, brothers, and sisters. So I've always been surrounded by people, by love. And I think the diversity that I got to experience at an early on childhood shaped the person that I am today. So I am grounded into family and family values that the Motholos raised us in. I think it shaped the person I have become. It continues to that foundation to model the person I want to be. So that's the person I am. I'm driven by my family. Everything that I do comes from that and who we are and how we were raised to be a proud people, not arrogant, but proud in who we are and what we stand for. And I think such a great legacy that they've left us with.
Sure. That's actually quite a powerful introduction into who you are, because I think, like you said, most times your point of departure when you're introducing yourself, you start with actually what you're doing. So talking about where you're actually coming from is such an interesting way to introduce yourself. So maybe let's also unpack some of the things that you've touched on there. Take us through, what was it like to grow up in a family with love and so many children, actually?
Yes. I think what's interesting is to understand my family dynamic. I come from a family of business owners. So growing up as children, and I think my family was very strategic in this, we had to work in the businesses that our families own. We own restaurants, we own supermarkets, we own tavern. I worked mainly in the tavern. At an early age, I started working in it and um, understanding how businesses were run. Although I didn't feel that it was a chore and we are running a business, it came naturally to me to be part of that. You get entrusted with such huge responsibilities. I remember some of the responsibilities that I was entrusted with. It's the staff that worked within the tavern. We had someone who had to come and actually clean the place. We had the DJs. We had someone who had to help with the sales. Stock has, when it has to arrive, I must make sure that all that is taken care of. What that taught me at an early age is to be comfortable to lead and to work with people. And what that also did is that, as you would imagine, in that at that age, these people were considerably much older than me. I didn't realize that that in itself made me comfortable to lead intergenerational across generations.
Yeah.
And it's only in hindsight that I could locate my current leadership and the teams that I lead, that why am I comfortable in the way I lead them. But that's because of that foundation that I've had as a child. So during school holidays, when people would go and play, we did have a bit of that, but largely we would be in the business, um, selling, making sure it's managed properly.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I actually looked forward to it. And it shaped the way I saw business, and it shaped the way I ended up choosing the career that I chose.
Okay. Okay. So we'll touch on the career part of it in very soon. But I wanted to just check. So when you were working, did you get paid?
Huh. So I suppose when we think payment, we think monetary,
Yes.
right? And I suppose also there must be an exchange,
Yeah.
right, of a transaction that I gave you a service and what do you get in turn. So I don't remember going to school without a lunchbox or lunch money. I don't remember going to bed without any form of money. So did my family take care of us and did they reward us? Definitely they did. We had food on the table, we had clothes to wear, we had schools to go to. So in a way, I was rewarded for all my efforts. And it's such an important thing to understand that nothing in life is for free.
Yes.
And it's understanding that there must be some exchange of something. And nothing in this world or anyone owes you anything. You gotta work for it. You gotta earn it. And those are the values that I grew up with.
Yes. And I guess in a sense, while you can't put like an actual value to the payment of it, the other softer things was the skills you're learning, and the exposure you were getting. So that payoff is much greater than any amount that you can ever extrapolate from that particular.
Yes, absolutely.
And then what's the one interesting thing about you that,
Well, I say one thing that's interesting about me.
Yes.
How limiting. I think there are many things that are interesting about me. I do enjoy adventure. I have skydived. I have bungee jumped. So those are the things that I think, as you train your muscles in your body, there's one that we forget about, and that's the brain.
Yes.
And I find when I challenge myself to do these things that scare me, somehow I challenge my brain to always go for things that would always challenge me and propel me there because I've taken my mind there by doing these adventurous things.
Like jumping out of the sky.
Like jumping out of a plane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is quite something. Wow. Wow. We lost for words there. And then, so what do you do currently? Take us just through that quickly.
I do many things.
Yes.
How do I earn a living?
Yes.
I'm currently the CFO of the University of Cape Town. That's my executive role. That's where I spend my day to day, and such a meaningful work to do. And it feels like a full circle for me, having to head up the finances of an institution as big as UCT. We're talking over 8 billion rand organization, and you're entrusted with overseeing that. There's other things that I do outside of that that keep me busy professionally, including chairing the board of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants and being able to not only lead the profession but contribute to where it would be far beyond the time when we are no longer here. And especially given how the landscape is changing.
Yes.
We are inheriting a profession, I'm inheriting institutions with strong legacies. And right now it's about how do we build on those legacies? How do we also make sure that 100 years from now on, these institutions exist and it's shaped by the decisions we make today?
Sure. That's quite, okay. It's quite interesting. Obviously, you've had this exposure to the business world and finance, and I can imagine you doing the accounting degree or would have been an easy decision for you. So maybe take us through that decision point and where you ended up going to varsity.
So, you grow up as a child and you ask, what would you like to be when you grow up? Yeah. You always choose something that you think it's cute at the time and that's familiar.
Yes.
And for me, because also some of my family members were teachers, largely actually, I wanted to be a teacher, right? That's where it all started. And what that ignited is that starts igniting a dream, right? Over time, I remember thinking, maybe I should become a marketer. There was this show on TV called The Power of Persuasion. They'll play adverts from around the world. And at the time, that's what I thought what marketing is about. And I thought I want to be a marketer. And when I was doing business studies, business economics during a time, there was a chapter on marketing and what that does. And I found it fascinating. But my family members thought it would be great if I choose a career in accounting. And I had gone to a career fair, and there was a book that spoke about different careers. It's called Rainbow. I don't know if it's still in the market. And when I paged through that book, Psycha was advertising in that book. I've never heard of Psycha at the time, ever. I think I was in grade 11 at the time. And then I liked how Psycha positioned itself, Integras, and they had an eagle as an emblem. And there's a story about an eagle. And they spoke about if you're going to choose a career in chartered accountancy, you'd be like the doctor of business, as it were.
Oh,
It's the highest pinnacle in commerce that you could reach. And that was very compelling because I thought if I must go with it, if I must choose a career, I want to go all the way.
yes.
And this promised to give me that, and it lived up. It actually has. So, yes, and that's when I chose a career to become a chartered accountant. Did the business aspect of it influence me? Yeah, it did. And also having to do accounting in school and understanding and seeing these things in practice at that level was interesting. It was different though when I got to university, but
Yeah.
that in itself, that foundation influenced my career choice a great deal.
Okay. And then maybe just tell us that story about the eagle.
So I remember I had promised myself that when I passed board one at the time, I'd get an eagle tattooed on my skin. It took several years before I could give into it. So I actually have a tattoo now,
Oh.
and it's an eagle. So that's what influenced it, and started reading more about the animals. So my association with it goes far beyond Psycha having it at the time as its logo, but it was the foundation that sparked the curiosity and about what it stands for and the qualities I could draw from an eagle. So yeah.
Maybe take us through those qualities. I'm just interested in this concept because
I admire the concept of an eagle. It's one of those birds that don't just fly, but that they soar.
yeah,
Right? Eagles go through a storm and surpasses it, and they just soar above the storm. What that for me resonates is that if you're going to be in leadership, you're going to have challenges. It's not a softer life people think it is, but you are there to solve problems. You are there to come up with solutions. And if you must come up with solutions, that means there are challenges. And if you could have qualities of an eagle as you go through that storm and realize, it's all temporary, but you must push on and soar. That's some of the qualities. And I mean, you'd hear stories about also how an eagle hibernates after 40 years for a renewal and come back as this great animal where it plucks out its beak and its feathers as a form of renewal.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it speaks about rest as well. You not necessarily have to wait until you're 40 to do it.
yes.
But I think those principles can personalize them and think about what renewal represents, and when you're renewed, how you're able to show up in life. And it gives me, I think those qualities just gives me a different perspective in terms of how I approach my life.
Sure, that is quite powerful. That's something that my mom also has tried to instill in me, actually. So that's why I was quite interested. She's always
Love
commanding
it.
me to fly and
Yes.
soar. Yes, so
That's
was
it.
just- Maybe let's go back now. So which varsity did you go to?
I went to the University of Pretoria. That's where I did my undergraduate. I then received a Tutuka bursary fund. At the time, it was sponsoring students who were doing distance learning. It's either you were with Yonelisa or UKZN. I went to UKZN, and subsequent to that, I've been doing many other studies with different institutions. And currently, I'm doing my MCom in Development Finance with the Graduate School of Business, of course, at the University of Cape Town.
Yes. And then so then when you finished your undergrad to do your to start your articles, what was it like actually Do you still remember what it was like being a trainee accountant, sitting for the boards?
Yeah. So I think when you're in varsity, you have this idea about your dream job that's going to pay you 40,000 Rand per month. Um, and you think you're going to get that immediately when you
Yes.
pass your higher education qualifications. And when you got into it, I remember my first job at KPMG doing my articles. It was nowhere close to 40,000 Rand a month. But that's because I went into this career because I also had someone on TV, Take Five, there was a show. And then they were talking about becoming a chartered accountant and that's how much you would earn. And so I had that figure in my mind, right? But what I remember also, it's because of the strong foundation that I received as a student at university, the transition from a technical aspect of it wasn't that much for me to translate. What was challenging, it's the softer skills part of it. And what I mean by that is that you work with diverse groups of people within your team, you service diverse clients with time pressures, with budget pressures, and you realize that in order for you to succeed in this environment, not only your technical capabilities are going to propel you forward, you need to be socially aware, you need to be equipped. And the training program that you go through to become a chartered accountant, and SAICA has done such a great job in terms of the competency framework, is that you get empowered on those softer skills, right?
Yeah.
Your public speaking engagements, how to engage with the client, how to deal with giving feedback, how to deal with difficult situations. So you get simulations of having to do that and really translate them immediately on the job. So I think that in itself was a different aspect of it because you come into it thinking your technical abilities and competence are what's going to define you, but it's much more broad. You do need them,
Yeah.
but that other softer skills, which are not really that soft, is what you need.
Yes. And then, so what was your favorite memory of the CA journey?
Passing would be passing those board exams. That's definitely your highlight. The process of doing that and doing articles and working late nights, when you go through it at the time, it's lots of work and it's demanding and it's challenging. So when you go through it, it doesn't feel joyful at all. It doesn't. But definitely, I can tell you when you pass board one and how the firms celebrate you, how your friends and families celebrate you. And then you pass board two and you're a chartered accountant, you feel like you walk on water for at least good month. So you feel untouchable because it's such a challenging program in itself. And when you achieve it and it translates and you are being confirmed as competent, it's just a badge of honor,
Yes.
that you receive. It's such a great confirmation. So it goes to you and it just, you
walk
walk
a bit past,
differently, So, so I think those would be highlights, those celebratory moments
Yes.
that I've had into becoming a chartered accountant, even from undergraduate, postgraduate, to ultimately those passing and passing, but the studying, no, not so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
So then maybe I wanted to maybe touch on something. So what happens if you fail? How do you stop that from allowing it to define you?
Yeah, and I'm glad you think I have failed because I have, right? The first time I actually failed and I had to be retained to do a program was for my bot 2. And that is the final examination to become a chartered accountant. It was a humbling experience because I was a hard worker and I've been successful at first attempts until that point.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible. I remember the feeling that I felt. I never wanted to feel it ever again in my life. I remember the day, I remember the tears I cried that were necessary
Yes.
because I remember I allowed myself to feel disappointed. to feel discouraged and to feel all of it, those emotions, right? And once I have dealt with it, and and everyone around you who's passed, they receive congratulatory messages. Oh, it reminds you every time that you have failed. But in that and in itself, what I remember is that not wanting to feel that pain of of a failure, I had to work harder. And again, if I look back and I thought, did I put as much work in preparation at my first attempt? No, I thought because, I was born to pass things first time.
Yes, yeah.
I thought they happened naturally. I had forgotten that actually I had to put in the work,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't put as much work, and that's why I failed. You
Mm.
get the results of the work that you've put in or didn't put in. I didn't put in the work, I failed. And when I put in the work, then, it was encouraging. I remember I asked to take a month leave from KPMG at the time. I used some of my overtime so that I can go and prepare for this exam. I was at the library every morning at 7 o'clock to make sure that I prep. And I remember because I studied my undergrad at University of Pretoria, and I remember how if you are studying accounting science, you work very hard.
Yes.
And I remember wanting to be in that environment where I see the students carrying those psych handbooks.
Yes.
So that I'm like, they can be in the same class as me, so I have to pass. So I'd go to the library for that motivation, so
Yeah.
I don't have to. And a week before the exam, I was ready. I was absolutely ready. And I knew everything. And as life would have it, and then I passed. It was not surprising. I put in the work.
Yes.
Mm.
It was the lesson they
Yeah.
put in the work.
Put in the work.
An interesting way to motivate yourself.
Yes. You sit down and work. Yeah.
Okay, so take me through your love for academia. Where did that come from? It wasn't being a CA enough? Like you could have just stopped there with the CA designation and then.
So it could, but that would be very dangerous. And belonging to a professional body and having to retain this designation requires you as well to invest in continuous professional development, right?
Yeah.
You have to, it's important. The world around you is continually changing. I think, however, in addition to that, I'm a curious person, right? And I think we must remain curious. The point where curiosity is gone, then what's your contribution to society? What's contribution to the world?
Yeah.
And I found in my curiosity, I'm able to put myself in position where I'm continually learning, and not in a formative sense of thinking about it or structural sense. It may be going into a foreign country, and you choose it because you're a curious person and you're willing to learn, because learning comes in different forms, and doing all these things that are out of the ordinary feeds off my curiosity. And I think that's my love for what you would term academia, because that's what knowledge is about, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we consume and feed off it in different forms. So I attribute a large part of it to my curiosity. I'm curious about diverse topics. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about many things, and not just finance itself.
So given that you're curious about the world,
Yes.
some of your colleagues would then usually go overseas after they end the charter. Did you do something similar, or you decided to stay in the country? And maybe take us through that decision point.
Yeah, so if you're doing your training and articles, you have an opportunity to go on secondment. I had an opportunity as well to go to Canada at the time. I didn't take it up. And because of family commitments,
Yes.
I had members of my family very close at the time that required me to be here at home.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I chose that and to be at home. The beautiful thing about this career is that it gives you mobility, not only on your way to becoming a chartered accountant, even post that. We have just over 60,000 chartered accountants, South African chartered accountants, and just over 12,000 of them are everywhere in the world. And that's the mobility that we're referring to. And I know the argument could be brain drain, not necessarily. I think the chartered accountants that we have and remain in this country and are committed to this country are able to contribute to its development and its growth. Yeah. And likewise, because we exist in a global scale, that's why you would have them everywhere in the world. And very affirming is that in 2023 and 2025, while I head up SAICA as its chairman, we have been confirmed as the most trusted designation in the world. That's amazing, such a huge badge of honor. And it's all through the work that we're doing at SAICA and with our members, because our members are the ones who do the work on the ground. And we are able, through the support and advocacy work that we do, that we are seen as such in the world. So it's a huge thing for us and shouldn't be taken granted. It's a good South African story to tell on a global scale, and we need more of that.
That's actually quite testament to the industry itself and the rigorous education. So I can understand why when people pass the exam, they would certainly celebrate. Yes. Yeah. The one point I wanted to actually ask you about is if you could, go back and talk to yourself at the start of the journey, what would you say?
You don't have to figure it all out at once. You don't. It's layers to this thing, and oftentimes as well, we put so much pressure to ourselves that, but you don't know this, you don't know the full picture, you don't know. When I went into this career, I didn't know what SAICA does. I didn't know who they were. Yes, now I lead the institution, isn't it, right? But that's a thing. Life will reveal itself. You remain curious, you're willing to learn, you're willing to put in the work. So just be patient with yourself. Yes, challenge yourself, but life will reveal itself. And life meets you to your level of curiosity. It will meet you to that level. You can't sit there and think things will happen to you. Yes. It's in that curiosity that life is able to shape you and move you in that direction. The books that you consume, the social media that you consume, it all speaks to what is it that you're going to bring and align your life to. If someone is listening to this podcast, we hope it aligns an algorithm, pulls you in the right direction that you want to move. And don't underestimate that, because it influences your thinking and how your future would look like.
Yeah. Speaking of things that you consume, so even our phones are consuming what we are saying. So I recently, there was something that was said, but I've never searched for it. I ended up seeing an ad coming up on my phone just to show you like that everything around us is also learning and consuming stuff. So are you. Outside your, failing one of your boards, what has been the hardest part of your journey?
We don't speak much about this, and I know universities have made progress into it. And, earlier on, we spoke about how me growing up in a household of businesses, somewhat that could have made things a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
Not so much. Yes, I would appreciate that someone who didn't have my background, I can imagine how even more tough for them. And I'll tell you why. When I went to university and how the syllabus was presented to us, it was largely examples at the global north. It didn't translate into businesses that I'm familiar with and thinking about. Once I can understand them in that concept, I can scale them up, right? When I was in academia and I was a lecturer, I had an opportunity to co-author textbooks. One textbook, it's Auditing Fundamentals in the South African Context. It's a great textbook. And a question book. And I was very deliberate in the questions that I've set. The questions that I've set, and because it was pitched at an undergraduate level, were based on car washes, were based on taverns, were based on tuck shops. Because I believe if I could take a world, let's say, of audit and translate it into that environment, and someone who is in that environment can translate it, then it's good, because that's a foundation, right? Yes. And then we can scale it up and give you a blue chip entity. And you'd be able to do it because your foundation is right. We didn't have that. There were no Vincent Moholos of this world in my time who understand that worldview and that perspective. But it had to take me to understand what is it that I was challenged with, because I couldn't imagine all the scenarios and these big businesses at their big scale. I remember doing Forex transactions. I've never had a foreign currency. I haven't held a dollar in my hand.
Yes.
And you must content yourself with these things, right? So the learning was uphill, right? Did it happen? Yes, it did, right? And in no way am I suggesting lowering of standards, but it's to say, how do we take the students on a journey once we admit them into our universities? So that for me was a challenge, and I'm glad I went through it so that those coming after me don't have to.
Sure. That's actually quite important work that you're doing, because I think if I reflect on my own studies also, because I studied a global designation, and a lot of the times we're going to talk about the US. And I'm just like, I'm all the way in South Africa, so don't tell me about all these US companies. But every now and then I'd get a part of the curriculum where they're going to reference a South African entity and they're going to talk about the country, and then I could sort of grasp that even much easier than compared to if it's a foreign concept that I've never heard of and never even come across in my day-to-day life. So it is quite important.
And I think what's key for me there is that before we could solve the world's problems, we must solve our own problem. At UCT, we are big on that in terms of our curriculum. We're very big to say we're solving Africa's problems, right? And once we can understand Africa's problems and actually solve them, then we would be able to translate them and take them on a global stage. But, there is so much innovation from where we are because we have limited resources to work with. So we are prone to come up with solutions that are outside where you have, abundance of resources to solve problems. So there is something that we have here that is special, that leads us in a different world. And that's why it's so important for higher education to play that role in terms of designing of curriculum and how to influence it, because in that way, then our minds are shaped differently.
So maybe let's go back to a point that you touched on earlier, because we quickly moved on from it, but I was quite interested in it. So you mentioned that you were funded by Tutuka.
Yes.
So what is Tutuka program, and like why was it so important in your journey?
And I must thank people like Ignatius Sehole, who was the president of SAICA at a time, Chantal Mulder, who worked with Ignatius quite closely on thinking about the Tutuka Bursary Fund. The idea behind it is that the number of Black chartered accountants was not where we would like it to be.
Yes.
And what Tutuka Bursary Fund was to look at students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds and who have talent, and actually give them a bursary to go and study. As you would imagine, most students who come into university, especially in South Africa, and really talented students, what they tend to battle with is financial aid, right? So financial assistance. So Tutuka plays that key role in society in making sure that the numbers are high up. And the numbers were sitting in 2002, if we look at CAs under the age of 35, they were sitting at about 3%. And in 2024, that number is higher up, just above 30% from 3%. It's much higher. So that's very encouraging news.
Yes. No, that's quite a big increase. Obviously, there's still more to be done and going forward. But you've come full circle then, from being a recipient of the bursary to now having to sit where you sit now. So I think that's quite encouraging. This one I have to ask you. You sound very passionate about I think academia and leadership. Yes. But what I wanted to know is, what does it take to be a good leader?
I hope my team thinks that I'm a good leader. Right. I hope the teams that I have privilege and honor of leading think that I am a good leader. Qualities that I think make a good leader requires, you have to have discernment. You have to be empowering. You have to believe in your teams. You work with talented people. Well, at least I do. And you got to give them room and scope to actually exercise their judgment and leverage off that,
Yeah.
right? So I believe, and I would like to believe that my team would also think this, that I am very empowering because I respect them and I respect what they have to bring on the table. And also their diverse backgrounds and what they're able to contribute as well. You got to be optimistic. You got to be able to see beyond challenges. You got to be comfortable with
Yeah.
challenges. You have to be. It's you are in those roles not for a good time, not for the vibes. No, you are in it because you have to make an impact in society.
Yes.
To make an impact, you must solve for something. And when you get in those roles, you must understand you'd be solving for something. Solving for problems, it's never easy. It's never easy. You gotta be comfortable that you are not money. Not everyone is gonna like you, right?
Yeah.
You must try your best as well to be cordial with everyone, but not everyone is gonna like you. You gotta base your decisions on integrity, on high ethical values. You must stand up for what is right and be able to express it
Yes.
in a way that doesn't compromise you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta protect your team. Very key, very very important. So those are some of the qualities that I think make a good leader, and I'd like to believe that I possess them, and I'd like to think those I lead believe that I do as well.
So, as you were talking, I thought of something now. So, obviously, earlier on, you spoke about being able to manage intergenerational relationships. And so, how do you then manage that as a leader? So, I mean, at some point, you're going to have somebody who's maybe 20 years older than you, or maybe 20 years younger than you, or whatever age gap is. How then do you navigate that?
I thought I don't think about it. I thought, I don't think about someone's age, but what that does is that it informs you about their background and their experience somewhat. That's what it gives you some insights into a person. And therefore, how do you use that insight? Is you must use it in a way that it enables you to engage with a person in a meaningful way, right? So I do think about that when I engage with people. So what is good is that when we are in a professional environment, you don't lose respect for the next person. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're disrespectful.
Yes.
You still have respect to people. It doesn't mean if I disagree with you, I'm disrespecting you, right? But also it's how you disagree, right? The words that you use, how you engage people, because I could disagree to close conversation or I could disagree to invite engagement. I think you prefer the latter, right?
Yes.
Where you invite engagements. So I'm able to engage with people, understanding those dynamics as well, and understanding that people have a story to tell, right? And what I have found, I mean, if you look within my team at UCT, the Psycha board, I have people who are much older than me, and I have people also younger than me. But it never is about that. It's about do we believe, and that's what people are looking for. Do we believe that you are aligned to the mission and vision of this institute, of this university? Do we believe you are the right person to lead us on that? Because then when people have that buy-in and you have a buy-in into it, even when we disagree, I'm not second guessing you about anything because I know our goal is the same.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, if you disagree, I must listen, say, what perspective are you bringing here? What is it that I am missing? Because I know you're disagreeing in good faith.
Yes.
In environments where it's much more nuanced and things aren't as obvious as they are, you'd always have your guard, and I'd prefer not to exist in such environment. And if I am, you must know how to navigate
Yeah.
those environments.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite true. That's quite true. And then, so who would you say has been your biggest critic, and where did they get things wrong?
I'm surrounded by love and admiration.
Yes.
I truly am, and it's such a privilege that I have. And I guess because I'm very deliberate about it as well, it's good for my sense of being. And I think in that instance is that I'm able to get even honest feedback that's not filtered. So I don't, I'm not surrounded by people who are critical for the sake of being critical.
Yes.
If I have the biggest critic, I think I am of my own, where I think I'm not doing enough, I'm not using my time effectively. So I challenge myself, in those things that I need to read more, So I put that pressure on myself. I really, really do. And I wouldn't change it. I'm comfortable with that pressure that I put on myself. I wouldn't want to be complacent. It would take away my curiosity.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying being my biggest critic.
Okay. And then maybe on a lighter note,
Yes.
so how do you take the elevator down? So how do you lift as you rise?
Yeah. So you'd hear in this conversation, and when I speak about organizations that I work for, I'm associated with, I speak about them existing beyond my time.
Yes.
And that speaks to, I understand that there's someone behind me, and I must pass on the baton, right? Because someone did the same with me,
Yes.
right? And when I have, there's a number of people that I do mentor. I actually received a call from someone I know very close, and and you said on a lighter note, I'm going to make it extremely light. And then this friend of mine said to me, I keep telling people that you are my mentor, but I don't know that you actually are I don't know if you know that you are actually my mentor. And I said to him, you know how it sounds like? It sounds like you go around telling people, oh, this is my girlfriend, but then the person doesn't know that they're your girlfriend. So I said, it sounds like that.
Maybe you must have a cake that says, will you be my mentor?
Yeah, so I mean, there's where I can make a contribution, I do.
Okay.
In the teams that I lead as well, I'm able to challenge my team and trust them in things outside of their scope as well. But it's to give them opportunities and to give them a wide exposure, and also to show them what they are capable of, right? And that's what succession planning is. You
Yeah.
think about these things. And also because I'm not threatened in any way, and I'm comfortable with myself, I'm comfortable with my future, I'm comfortable with where I am going. So I suppose because I'm operating from that surety and from that abundance, I am able to do things and impact people even within my teams and trust them with exposures that I think they would need, should they need to replace me, right?
Yes.
That I've done some contribution. So I'm very comfortable with that. So it brings me joy to see people even achieve or do things they never thought they could or never even dreamt of. And that's what I meant by that empowering leadership. It's very important.
Sure. You actually said something quite interesting. So I've got an abundance mindset, and I've always looked at life like that. So I believe there's enough to go around. So when you operate from that place, it's not a place of lack. So you're always able to pour out because there's more that can come in. So that's actually quite powerful. There's something that I read that you wrote on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, what did you say? It said, when others sit, stand. And when others stand, stand out. And when others stand out, be a standard setter. And here you acknowledged Ayanda.
Babaza.
Yes.
Yes.
For reminding us of our infinite potential.
Yes.
Why did this resonate with you?
I think there's nothing admirable of blending in and playing it safe and not putting your neck out, I just think it's I enjoy a life of excellence, and excellence requires you let go of mediocrity.
Yes.
I and excellence, it means that your good is not enough. We want greatness, and that in itself, it said there's always a next level,
Yeah.
right? I always say to a friend of mine, and although I've modified this somewhat, I said, when you achieve a dream, it's time to dream new dreams,
Yes.
right? Yes, bask in the dream, celebrate it and enjoy it. And you must know when the time is up, and then you dream new dreams. Dreaming new dreams is like going on that hike. You reach this peak, and there's another one. You realize, oh, I didn't know that one is there. And that's what curiosity does, right?
Yes.
Let's go to that one next time, And that's dreaming new dreams. And that resonated with me. Say, now you're here. Now what's the next level? What's the next level? And then, and when Ayanda Vabaza shared that, I just thought, that was so profound. It was an event of a new members welcome for SAICA, the Southern region, here in the Western Cape, in Cape Town. And she's also one of our members. She's an entrepreneur. She's doing a great job as a chartered accountant. It also speaks about the diversity of a chartered accountancy profession and what you can go in. If you look at people like herself and me, so different.
Yes.
But we have this qualification that allows you to be so broad.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you, do you feel like you're living your purpose? But I feel like I know the answer.
Yes, I believe so. Not only from a career perspective, but also from a family perspective. I think I live a life of a purpose in that manner. I have the privilege of parenting two boys, Offense and Kilebogile. It's been such a joy to parent them and see the men that they have become into. I think that's one of my life's greatest purpose, in actual fact. Um, and I'm grateful that I'm able to contribute to the communities that I live in,
Yes.
to South Africa as a whole, be it at my role at UCT, my role at SAICA. Those are significant positions of influence, and to be part and contribute in the society in that manner, it gives me purpose.
Yes. I've seen them. What are you feeding them? They're very tall.
Yes, they're taller than me now. Hey, the joy of it is that you get to grow with them, and because they're boys, they get to do activities with me.
Yeah.
We do lots of outdoor activities together. So yeah, it's been such a journey. They kept me young at heart. Yeah.
That hot.
Yes.
So now I think we're gonna do a bit of reflection, and the one thing that I was interested to also know as part of this was, so how you've achieved all these great things, but how then do you stay humble in everything?
So I can't imagine a life where one is. I can't imagine why you can be nice. I can't imagine a life where you think you're better than the others. I can't imagine a life where I think I can't learn anything from anyone. I don't believe in a classist society. I don't believe in classist environments. I think when you do, it comes with lots of limitations
Yeah.
that you're imposing on yourself as well. I do understand, however, that in being accessible as a leader, um, it can expose you to some disrespect.
Mm.
It can expose you to some familiarity where people want to take advantage. I'm mindful of that. But that's only small pockets. And I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm not I'm not worried about my accessibility. I'm not worried that I can engage at different levels with different people. So I think at the heart of that, it's what people see it as humility. And I think also because no one owes me for whatever I have, and I'm not entitled to it. You know, I had to earn it, and people trusted me and put me in this position. It's what an honor. I didn't put myself. People believed in me and put me in that for a reason. But that's humbling in its own. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so with that in mind, how has your view of success evolved over time?
Yeah, it has changed quite a bit. Yeah. So so ordinarily, this is how I perceived success.
Yeah.
Something you long for, right? You may attain, you may not attain it. There's a price tag to it, and there's this material things that go with it, right? What I've come to realize is success is when people around you also are able to achieve their dreams in their own way, and you've contributed to that. People are able to live meaningful lives because you are in it and have contributed to that. Success is yourself having a peace of mind with your life and everything around it. Success is having a happy family, happy home. Success is being joyful, carrying that joy with you and translating it into the world more than, the price tags and everything else that we assume it to be. Success is in us. We have it all the time. It's not far out there somewhere. We're successful every day in many ways than you would actually imagine. If you start being grateful every day, you'd realize how successful you are.
Mm. Sure. And I think a mindset of gratitude is where it all flows from.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So where are you from in South Africa, and what's your home language? Is it?
So I grew up in a small village outside of Brets called Maboloka.
Yes.
That's where my family is. It's a small village where you find Sotho-speaking people in the Northwest Province.
Yes.
I think it's the only one. You don't find that often. You find Sotho-speaking people. In the Free State, my mother is Sotho. I was raised Sotho. My dad is Tsonga. So I have Tsonga blood running in me.
Okay.
But I think, you can't learn, I always say, a language without learning its culture and everything.
Yeah.
So I think I carry more of me of a Sotho.
Sotho. Okay.
Southern Sotho.
Hold that thought, because I've got a question for you.
That's
So you said your current position right now, you're the chief financial officer at UCT.
Yes.
So what is a chief financial officer in Sotho?
Chief, it's Khosi. I'm going to do direct translation on the job, guys. Chief, it's Khosi or Morena. Finance is, what's money? Chelete. So Morena, what the chelet? Something like that. I think that's what it is. You know what? There is someone doing languages out there. Please help me with it.
Yep. That's where we need to go with these things.
Yeah, I think it's Morena or Matlotlo or Morena Matlotlo or something of that sort.
No, I'm imagining having to go back home and actually explain to somebody who maybe were not as exposed to English, like the way we are. How do you convey to them that this is what I do, so that they can actually understand it and see how it fits in their world? And I think point of departure is being able to
say it in the language they understand.
Yeah,
that's a good point, and that's why that curriculum we're talking about becomes so key.
Yes, because then also I think I'm just thinking through now, because for example, I'm Xhosa, so some things I actually understand them in Xhosa. So
Yes.
now, me reading this textbook with all these fancy words, it will take me some time to actually understand and comprehend what's being said because of the language barriers. Yes. Okay. So as we wrap up, thinking about the arc of your journey, what's your story in one line, or a book or song?
So there's a book that has influenced me a great deal. And I think the angle this book is written is going to influence when my book is out one day.
Can't wait to read it.
Thinking about the Odyssey of Vincent Mohau Motholo or something of that sort. But Robert Eger wrote the book called The Ride of a Lifetime. It's my ultimate favorite book. He was the former CEO of Disney World. What I appreciate about the book is that it's such a masterclass on leadership. What I liked about it, and early on, and I'm glad I read it at the time when I read it, many years ago, but it's a book I'll revisit over and over. But I remember how he starts it. He arrives in Shanghai. They're going to open Walt Disney in Shanghai. He receives the news that an alligator has killed a child in one of their theme parks, Walt Disney theme parks in the US.
Yes.
He starts the book like that. And they're opening a theme park in Shanghai. And that's a theme throughout the book. He tells you about challenges and overcoming challenges. And I just thought, that's an exception way. Say, you want this life, you want this positions. Let me tell you what. You're going to be problem solving year in, year out, every day. There'll be challenges every day. There'll be days you hate this job, right? So every time I'm reminded of that, when I have challenges and I have problems to solve, and there's this coming this way, that coming that way, and I'm like, yo, what do you want from me? But I said, I can. I put my hand up when they said, yes, do you want to? And I think the way he's written that book, it's so sobering in a sense that when he speaks about all those challenges, right? He's coming up with solutions. It's how you deal with problems and provide solution as far as you can, some solution. Of course, in an instance where a child died, you can't bring the child back, but it's how you deal with a grieving family.
Yes.
And how you empathize with them, right? So it's such things. And I think my life, if I think about it and the journey that I'm traveling and have traveled and going to travel, it would be about soaring like an eagle, going through that storm, but coming out of it victorious. Yes. Because that's what we have to. There's no other way.
So, the ride of a lifetime, indeed.
Mm-hmm. The ride
of a lifetime. Vincent, thank you for joining us at the Charters table. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and listening to how you moved through life to being the change maker that you are. We hope that you continue being the beacon of light for all of us here in the country. The world needs more leaders like you, more passionate leaders. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
If you have any questions, submit a question via email at info@thecharterstable.co.za.